and the biggie we've all been waiting for. Number 19, that hearings panel report from dog control policy.
Oh, thank you. I know it's been a long morning and I want to be able to do justice to this. So I had the pleasure of chairing this hearings panel for the dog control policy and the bylaw, and I had ably assisted and diligently assisted by my colleagues, Councillor Kewen, Deputy Mayor Cotter, Councillor Fields, Kelly Barber, who's absent for a funeral today. And important to note that our panel was made up of dog owners, not dog owners, and doggy daycare people. So we had quite a broad range, and also from across the city and Banks Peninsula. It was a big piece of work. We had a record-breaking number of submitters on this piece of policy and bylaw, with 1,560 written submissions and 51 people presenting at the public hearings, and 80% of our submitters were dog owners. When the council last reviewed the policy bylaw in 2016, there were 240 submissions, and that broke records for bylaws at that time. So I think when you put that in context, you do understand the significance of engagement that we got on this piece. It's only reviewed every 10 years, so people really took the opportunity to get their views across. And which really is no surprise, because we've got one of the highest rates of dog ownership in the country. We've got around 45,000 dogs, and that's registered to 39,000 people. And our communities have very strong views on where dogs should and shouldn't be allowed to go, and also strong views on what responsible dog ownership looks like. And as with a lot of these issues, there was significant polarisation, people either really strongly for the proposals and others against, and our job really was about finding that middle ground. And this was one of the biggest bylaw review projects, so it was really complex when you started looking at all the different situations across the district. So hats off to my colleagues who really persevered and gave this the due diligence it required. There have been a lot of proposed changes, and I won't go into detail on all of those today because they are very comprehensively covered in the report, which I trust you've read. But I'm going to pick out on a few of those that are of the highest interest to submitters and also took quite a bit of our time during our deliberations. And the first is in the Otakaro Avon River corridor in the residential red zone. We really listened to submitters and we are recommending to loosen some of the proposed rules, including on former roads, and to grant some river access, which Councillor Cotter will be pleased with. And so the red zone really will continue to be a great place for dogs and their owners, as well as for everybody else. It really does strike the balance. But we are recommending keeping in place some of the limitations to leave plants and wildlife to establish, which is really important in this area, which is regenerating. Also, we received very clear feedback on the proposed changes to dog access in the Te Ihutai Avon Heathcote estuary, with 70% of submitters supporting prohibiting dogs, and that's what we're recommending. So people really did understand the estuary's importance for bird life as part of the International Flyway Network. There's some new limits to dog access in some of the mudflats and wetlands, which is similar to the estuary in terms of the hosting the bird life. We've also considered new stormwater basins like Te Kura wetlands and Hallswell, and that was a tricky one, and I think Councillor Moore may want to talk to that today. What we're doing is we're looking to balance the access for dog walkers with other users, but also establishing the plants and wildlife. And it's a bit similar to the red zone in that respect. So we're recommending limiting dog access in some areas and continuing to enable off-leash, essentially on a path, on a leash, in mown areas off the leash. And it's important that Te Kura is considered in the same way as some of the other wetlands are. We're also responding to lifting the leashing requirements in the groins, and we listened to submitters' views in relation to the Sticks Mills Conservation Area and recommended a bit more access for dogs on key paths in that area as well. We spent considerable time looking at the central city, where views were very mixed, with people wanting better off-leash access, but we really didn't have a clear place for that to happen. So what we've done is we've recommended lifting leashing in the Avon Park. It means that people can exercise their dogs off-leash in the mown areas. While the rest of the central city business area is remaining leash, but we have asked staff to look into the developing a dog park or some similar off-leash area for dogs in the central city. We also looked closely at sports fields, and a new leashing requirement was proposed there, but based on the submitter feedback, we're making sure that this one only applies when and where it makes sense. And essentially that is on playing fields and sidelines whilst the games and practices are on, but leaving the rest of the area off-leash dog exercise area, which seems to strike that balance. We spent a lot of time talking about the leashing aspect on paths and green spaces, and this was a really tricky one, and we had to weigh up all the feedback. And we're recommending to proceeding with leashing on paths, but we've removed the requirement for the short leash aspect of it. There were quite a few people that objected to the short leash idea. In the most part, it's what most dog owners do anyway, especially when it's busy. We also noted through the submissions there were many dog owners that really didn't understand the current rules. One of those examples was in the Port Hills, where dogs are currently required to be leashed, including on paths. And so what it does is it highlighted the importance of dog owners making sure they understand the rules and their legal obligations, but also for council to ensure adequate signage and online maps are available. And that the annual management dog control officers have the resourcing that they need to do their jobs. And you'll see that the panel has made some recommendations to that effect in the paper. We've also recommended proceeding with the proposal to limit the number of dogs a person can be in charge of, and there's an exemption for people with the skills and necessary experience to safely manage the dogs. So what you have before you is a really comprehensive piece of work to set the behaviours that we all want to see from dogs and their owners in public places. And what it does is it takes a harm minimisation and public safety approach, but it also puts in place reasonable controls in response to what we heard from submitters. And importantly, what it does is it balances those things with continued access for dog owners to a wide range of places for dogs. I'd like to finish by thanking my panel members for their due consideration and diligence with this, but also to the members of the public who responded and engaged by providing a submission, and especially those who turned up in person. And also thanks, please, to our staff. They've put in an enormous amount of work. This was started back in 2024 in October, so it's nearly 12 months. And we're really appreciative of your time, your expertise and your patience in stepping us through this, because it was reasonably complex. So thank you for that. I understand that Councillor Fields has got an amendment, and I wonder if he wants to talk to that very briefly.
Yeah, I'll do one sec. Yeah, at this stage, I'd just like to say thanks very much, Vic, and the team and the staff. They're very thorough. By crikey, that's thorough. And if any of you here, councillors, have ever chaired a hearings panel, it's not the best fun in the world, but someone has to do it, and you've done good. So, Tyrone.
Thank you, and I'd like to commend Councillor Henstock, who did an absolutely magnificent job chairing the panel. It was not easy, as she said, but it was really, really well done, and the staff did an incredible job as well. So my amendment is just tightening up part of the staff recommendation, just with some time boundedness for reporting back on the dog exercise area in Diamond Harbour. It's just saying, can we have staff report back within a 6 month time frame and expedite community engagement. There was a lot of feedback from the Diamond Harbour community on dog exercise areas, or the lack thereof. So I just want to be able to demonstrate to them that they have been heard, and that we want to work with that community on supporting the facilities there. There is an extremely high level of dog ownership in the Diamond Harbour area. I can personally vouch for that. So yeah, this is a response to that.
Okay, do you happy to put that? Here you go, Vic.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to second that amendment.
So it'll become the substantive.
So it all becomes substantive. That's okay to
okay.
work
That
with
is so good. Thank you. And
I'm the mover of the main one. Yep.
Yes, and then the second. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. So we're looking in really good shape here. So no discussion. I'll put that. Yeah.
I'd also like to reiterate what Councillor Fields said and thank Councillor Henstock for a great job that you did, and also for the staff. The quality of the reporting was excellent. The responses to our multitude of questions was really thorough and prompt. And I think we met, 5 times or something, 5, 6. It was a lot of work, and I think this has been a really good process. It's as you say, 45,000 dogs, but most of them are really big members of the family. So it was a really emotional kind of issue with the dog control. So we had to be very careful about which way we went. Most of us were really trying to give dog owners responsibility or a mandate to take responsibility for their dogs. One of the big issues was the doggy do bags, and a lot of people take them into the parks, but they don't take them home. They drop them at the gate or at someone else's gate who lives next to the park. This is quite an issue, and looking at people were saying, can we have more rubbish bins in the parks? But I mean, one of the council's policies, or what we're aiming for, is for people to take the rubbish home. Well, you've already got a bin being picked up, and that's one way to reduce our rates. So look, if anyone who's got a dog is listening to this, please take your doggy bag home. That would be really helpful. But I think we came to a very good place with these recommendations, and we did want to ensure that the dog registration fees are enough to cover the implementation of the dog control bylaws. And particularly around, I was quite keen to get new signage up in places, and I had an example of a really funky sign that they've got up in Queenstown, which is really friendly doggy sign. It's got dog on the top and we pause over the front, and just to actually inform people of what you can do and what you can't do in this particular area. Funding is an issue with those, but I personally think people need a lot of education around dog ownership and how to travel around the city with your dog. So I think signage would be important, not just relying on people going into the website and reading myriads and screeds of information. So once again, thanks to Victoria and the panel. It was enjoyable actually, and I learned a lot about dogs and people. So cool, thank you.
Well done, and once again, well done to everyone and staff, because there's a lot of work in that. So I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Brilliant. You don't, Mel. Thank you. That's carried. Yeah.
And abstain.
Abstain from Andre.